don't want to believe that she's gone. It hurts too much. She was my only daughter.
18-year-old Savanah Soto was 9 months pregnant. She and her boyfriend, 22-year-old Matthew Guerra, were reported missing on Saturday after they didn't show up for an appointment to induce labor.
Because she was shot. And all that was going through my mind was the baby. Is the baby still alive? What was she thinking? You know, was she crying out for me?
Welcome back, guys. I trust you've been staying safe. This true crime story is taking us back to the United States of America to look at the case of 18-year-old Savanah Soto and her 22-year-old boyfriend, Matthew Guerra, who were declared missing on the 22nd of December 2023. This was just 3 days before Christmas. And sadly, Savanah Soto was also heavily pregnant and scheduled to be induced for childbirth just a few hours before her reported disappearance. Now, when this started, in its inception, it wasn't yet clear if there was any criminal intent that had resulted in they being missing, or whether it was a case of they being somewhere and people not being unable to reach them for one reason or the other. So a welfare check was put in by the families, just so the police would make a welfare check to be sure that they were okay, because it seemed a bit out of normal, especially for Savanah Soto. Unfortunately, the welfare check did not yield any positive result, because it turned out that even after that, they still couldn't be accounted for. Neither Savanah Soto nor Matthew Guerra could be accounted for. So then it escalated, and the police took it fully on as a case of a missing couple. Fast forward down the line, they were found, but unfortunately, they were not found alive. They were found with GSWs to their head. They had been unalived, and they were in a car that they were last seen driving to wherever they drove to. So then the mystery started. What led to this? Who did this? Who could have done this? Who wanted to do this? And I was following this case closely, trying to map out possible dynamics to the case, because the more I researched, the more I realized that this is a very tricky one. And the police themselves investigating the crime scene said that the crime scene is a very perplexing one, because it looks like they were positioned in the car in an execution style. And I don't know who would have the heart to do this. Initially, when they were found, two narratives were being pushed by two different people, or let me say by two different groups of people out there. The first narrative was that they were probably executed by somebody else. But the second narrative was that this could be a possible case of Matthew Guerra unaliving Savanah Soto and then turning on himself, thereby making it a possible case of a murder-suicide. Now, none has been proven yet, but as it stands now, the police are not looking at it as a possible murder-suicide. That is not what they are suspecting right now, because nothing is pointing to that. But then, things have improved in the investigation, because as of a few days ago, the police then revealed or released a footage showing some persons of interest in this case. Now, if you watch the footage, I'm showing this, and if you watch the footage, you would see that one of the persons of interest is seen driving a pickup truck, whilst another person of interest is seen driving away the Kia vehicle that belongs to the victims. Victims here being Savanah Soto and Matthew Guerra. And this is the same Kia vehicle they were last seen driving away in, prior to they being declared missing and unfortunately being found later unalived. So then it begged the question, who are these two persons? Who are these two persons? It is very clear in the footage that the one who got down from the pickup and got into the Kia vehicle of the victims is obviously a man, but then it's not Matthew Guerra. So it's clear he wasn't there at the time. But then the other question also is, it's not clear whether this footage occurred or whether the incidents being seen in this footage occurred before or after the couple were missing, and furthermore, whether it occurred before or after they passed. Because when they were found in their vehicle unalived, it was clear that they had been in the vehicle for a number of days prior to them being found. So it's not clear to determine the timeline of this video vis-a-vis the timeline of their unaliving as they were found in their car. But either way, certainly these two people are persons of interest in this case. And I'm hoping that the police would find them, because the police themselves have admitted that the crime scene is very complex and very perplexing, and that they are investigating the case as a possible murder. If that is the case, obviously these two guys are key because they have been seen with the car. So getting them to come forward and answer questions could help further along the investigation along the right course. Now, it wasn't still clear who had done this, even though this footage has been gotten, because if you look at what happened to them, if you look at the GSW that was seen on the victims, according to police, you would see that Guerra had his from a close contact. It's as though the muzzle was pressed directly against his head when it was fired. And it either takes someone you are familiar with to get this done without you noticing or maybe surprising you, or they were in a position where they couldn't just do anything. They had to comply with whatever instructions were being shouted out at them before this. But either way, it's clear that foul play has occurred, and it didn't occur at the hands of any of these two people who went missing and were later found unalived. Now, like I was saying, some people started drawing theories, but it doesn't look like it's going to be seen as a murder-suicide. The police themselves have said that they are not looking at it like that, although they've had instances in the past. This couple have had instances in the past involving domestic violence, where Savanah Soto allegedly took out a restraining order against her boyfriend Matthew Guerra, and this was just a year ago in 2022. So if my calculations are right, this would be a few months before she would actually end up getting pregnant for him. Now, in this restraining order that was issued against Matthew Guerra, it indicated that Matthew Guerra was prohibited from intentionally, knowingly or recklessly communicating with Savanah Soto, whether by telephone, in writing, or in person, in a harmful or injurious manner. If that was the case, it seems that they had it quite bad between them. And some people are saying that this could be something that could be looked at to justify the suspicion that it could possibly be a murder-suicide, where Matthew Guerra may have been responsible for the unaliving of Vanessa Soto and then turning the weapon on himself. I know that police, blood spatter specialists and forensics can read all these things through the trajectory of the shooting, blood spatter and all. So I don't think this should be difficult to determine. Now, when these allegations were going out, it was also determined that even after that restraining order, Matthew Guerra violated his parole for the domestic violence charge and was back in court in June of 2022. being charged with 3 new felonies, i.e., him evading arrest, him unlawfully having a firearm, and recklessly driving as well. So it was clear that this guy was into a lot of trouble per the reports out there, because he also failed to seek lawful employment or attend battery counseling classes, which were all conditions in whatever was issued out to him. So, despite a documented history of violence, his mother was still trying to claim that no, her son wasn't like that. She was trying to defend her son so much, and I respect that. As is natural, most mothers will do that for their kids. So she took to Facebook and she wrote that, I know my son and he wouldn't do anything to hurt her here being Savanah Soto. She posted this when they got missing and people started speculating, and then she felt the need to come and do this. And she went on to say that, as a mother, I know my son and his girlfriend were taken against their will because my son does not, like, her son is good and that he does what he does for money. That last statement, he does what he does for money. That is where my question is coming from. What is it that he does for money? I think that statement in itself is an admission by his mom that her son was into some shady things and that she knew about it. Or maybe even if she didn't know about it, she had heard about it or people have mentioned it. But one way or the other, she seems to be alluding that she has an idea about something her son has been doing, which, according to her, he does it for money. But that's rubbed very roughly with the family of Savanah Soto, because Soto's family also came back and insisted that she wouldn't have run away, as they made a Christmas Day appeal for help to find her, and that they were suspecting that she might have been caught up in something that has to do with Matthew Guerra and what he does. You know, so the whole thing became a back and forth issue. But then, my research further showed that this was not the first time Savanah Soto's family were having issues like this to deal with, because it turns out that Savanah Soto's family were recently involved in a courtroom brawl with supporters of the teenager who was accused of unaliving Savanah Soto's brother in 2022. Now, Savanah Soto's brother was called Ethan Soto, and he was just 15 years at the time he was unalived by a guy who police believed was the suspect. And the motive was that it was to be a revenge for a drug robbery in May 2022. The suspect in that shooting was Victor Nathaniel Rivers. And per the video I saw in my research, he was taking the stand in court, and it looks like he said or gestured something towards the family of Savanah Soto, who were grieving badly at the time because Victor Rivers had allegedly unalived their 15-year-old son, Ethan Soto. And once he made that gesture, the family of Savanah Soto pounced on him in court and started assaulting him, but he was saved by the officials at the courtroom eventually. But then, some people are now looking at this as this could also be a retaliation in terms of what has happened to Savanah Soto. Mind you, Victor Rivers was since sentenced to prison, but obviously he has acquaintances and associates who are still outside prison and get to see the Soto family go and come each day. I saw a person in that footage of the brawl at the courtroom. I'm not sure of it though, but it looked like Matthew Guerra was also there with the Soto family, and he may have partook in that assault. Now, if that was the case, then he could also be a subject of retaliation if retaliation is supposed to come from the camp of Victor Rivers. So all in all, these are the three theories I'm working with. 1, there is still that possibility it could be a murder-suicide, where Matthew Guerra could have unalived Savanah Soto and then turned the weapon on himself. I haven't ruled that out yet. That could be a possibility. It could have been done in a manner the police is yet to fully appreciate and determine. Or maybe he could have even done it with someone's help. I don't know. That is a possibility. The second theory is the possibility that it was done by third parties who wanted to harm them for one reason or the other, associated with whatever Matthew Guerra was caught up in, which his mom says that he was doing for money. That is a possibility. And maybe Savanah Soto was caught in the middle as collateral damage or a possible form of retaliation to hurt Matthew Guerra, depending on whatever the issue at play was. Now, the third theory is the possibility that it could have been a retaliation hit from the camp of Victor Rivers or any other person. These three theories, I'm suspecting that when this case is eventually solved, the root cause of this crime might hinge on one or more of these theories. That is what I'm suspecting. Unless other theories come up based on other new findings that will come up after I have done this video. But I agree with the police. It's a very complex crime scene and it's a very complex case. And I'm sure that they are going to look at all these angles and exhaust all these possibilities and any other ones that they are looking at which I haven't been able to think about. But then, this case has also fueled tension between the families of Matthew Guerra and the families of Savanah Soto, who are actually trying to blame the family of Matthew Guerra. And that in itself could also get at hand or get out of hand if interventions do not come in, because they are all in pain, they are all grieving. And at that point, some people can go to the extreme and things can escalate so fast. I'm hoping that law enforcement is also looking at that possibility and taking steps to avert any other escalation of this already bad situation as it is. One other thing that hurts me is the fact that an unborn kid was involved in this. So it's not 2 lives that have been lost, it's actually 3. And this kid was scheduled to have been delivered a few hours before this happened to her mom or his mom, because they actually named the kid Ethan. They chose a name for this kid. He was going to be called Ethan, or he was called Ethan. He just needed to come out. And unfortunately, this has happened. And I can't appreciate the level of wickedness that will get somebody to be able to do this to a heavily pregnant woman. If they are found, I'm waiting to see the punishment that the justice system will feel fits this crime, because honestly, thinking of the types of punishment I know of in the American justice system right now, I don't think any of them is fairly suited to be administered to eventually the person who will be convicted for this, especially for what was done to Savanah Soto. I don't know, but we are waiting to see, because I think the person should get the most harshest punishment. Yeah, I know the English is not accurate, but that is the extent to which I want the punishment to be harsh, because this is just overboard. My condolences goes out to the family of Savanah Soto and the family of Matthew Guerra. Please, if you know them, extend love to them, extend your condolences to them, commiserate with them. Even if you don't know them and you are watching this video, just go to the comment section and type RIP Savanah Soto, RIP Matthew Guerra, RIP baby Ethan. Let's just send love to them, because this also happened within the Christmas holidays, a time when families should be together and celebrating, and this was what they have to be dealing with going into the new year. It's rather unfortunate, but that shows the kind of evil that we are facing in this world in these times. And I'm hoping that the police are going to solve this case very swiftly and bring the culprits to book so they face justice. Like I've been saying, the justice that will be meted out to them might still not be enough for the families of the victims because it wouldn't bring back the victims, but at least it could help give them some form of closure. Until then, I'm following this case closely. As and when there are updates, I'll bring them to you. Kindly subscribe if you are yet to do so. Turn on the post notifications. Don't forget to leave an RIP message to Savanah Soto, Matthew Guerra, and baby Ethan. Stay safe out there, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.